taken earlier, and it's about data. When you plan your PG thesis, you're planning. Then you create a data entry form, you collect data, you analyze it, you publish it, then you archive it and you save it somewhere. You can also share and disseminate this knowledge later. Share the data, and somebody else can reuse the data and republish newer material from the data. So this is also called the data cycle. So I've taken these sessions earlier, and it's there on our CU website. So this is for the PGs. You have a research question, or for the interns as well. Then you go to the IRB and you finish. You've finished IRB. You have to submit. So you have to ask a question. That's your research IRB form. Once the ethics committee approves, you get the data. Once you get the data, you have to explore the data. How does the data look? Finally, you do some, in your thesis, you do something called modeling of the data. That is the final part. And finally, you will communicate that results to other people. So this is called data science, what all happens in your data. So I've taken some of this stuff earlier, and I'm not going to repeat that. It's there online. So I'll just go ahead to, now we are doctors, but if you look at many hospitals, they got some people who like to do all this research and do all this. They call information specialists. And then you can go to the biostatistician or data analyst. Then there's quality assurance, making sure your data is good quality, the lab data is good quality. Then there are computer science and IT people who can help you with all management of the data, collecting the data from clinical pathology, radiology, workstation, putting it all together. So now it's a teamwork. So health science has become a team science now. They say it's a team sport. So each person has a different knowledge, including like the budget. Like the administrator is thinking more about, should we really do this research? The finance person is saying, can we afford this research? We are thinking of something else. We are thinking of our workflow. How do I get the data? Patients are worried about something else. So this is a team sport. The second talk which I took was on data preparation and management, and was thinking about the same thing. Where does the data come from? And for the PGs, every research must start with a hypothesis. What is your theory like? Why are you collecting this data? And then everything goes from there. If you don't have a hypothesis, you will come up with every answer and say that's what I was actually looking for. So the whole goal of research is to have a hypothesis and then prove it or disprove the hypothesis. So if you don't have that, you will endlessly torture the data and you will come up with some answer. Because your goal is to show a p-value, not to prove or disprove a hypothesis. That's called torturing the data. This guy Ronald Coase said, if you torture the data long enough, it will confess to anything. So as a PG or intern or faculty also, we should not needlessly do some data analysis. Where do you get the data from? It's called data locating and retrieving. That's a separate science by itself. We'll not go into that. Complex data sources are like CMC. One is X-ray, one is blood, one is urine, one is biochemistry, one is microbiology, one is cost accounting. Getting all this together is a complex procedure, and the volume of data in CMC is so big, it will fit into what is called big data. So then there is another theory, what is something called data mart. So where we get the data from, it could be something called data mart, data warehouse, which if you're interested, I can tell you about that later. Then there's another concept called a data lake, where there's a large amount of data that's kept there, and you can use it only when you want it. And I talked about the differences between data warehouse and data lake, which I can talk about later if you want. And there are some Excel spreadsheets which are very good for this. There are some software which will help you get data from the internet called OpenRefine. There's another one called Trifacta. Now as a postgraduate student, you want to analyze the data. Excel spreadsheet won't analyze the data for you. There's a free software called R, which everybody in the world is moving towards. Harvard, Stanford, MIT, all the IITs. Nobody wants to buy SPSS or SAS anymore. It's very costly to buy data analysis program. So if there's something free, it's very good. The best program is called Blue Sky Professional, which is an R-based program, but you have to pay for it. Then there are other programs called Jazz, Blue Sky, and Jamovi. We can have some sessions and see you later. I can take some session on these free software, Jamovi and Jazz. Blue Sky is also free. And there's this book, Data Preparation Exploration. We have it in CU. If anybody is interested, we can teach that. So this guy writes this, Bob Munchen, that's this guy's picture. He has written this nice book. R is free, and if any of you are interested, we can teach R of that someday. R is a language, so it's like learning a new language. Like for me, if you say learn Hindi, it will take 1 year to learn it. Whereas R is a language, so once you learn it, it's very easy. After that, you can do anything in the world. But for people who don't like to learn new language, like if you go to SPSS, you click a drop down menu, mean, it will give you mean. You don't have to understand how it does it. So the workaround for R is called R Studio, which helps you to do, the background is a complex language, but the picture you see is something easy to use. So many people in the world use this thing called R Studio. This Jamovi is something which we'll take later. It's free, you can download it free. We'll take some sessions on Jamovi. Another one called Python. Many people in engineering field, they all learn this Python language. Again, it's a bit much for a doctor to learn Python. And there's another one called JASP. So Jamovi and JASP are something which are easy we can teach. Then the next step is called data preparation. After the World War II, the Japanese were like collapsed economy. And they said we must learn from the Americans how to manufacture properly and do stuff well. In a few years' time, Japanese products like Toyota became high quality. In fact, now if anybody wants to buy a car, you will buy Toyota because it's got the best quality, it lasts forever. So those people took this American scientist called Edward Deming. So he thought about quality and all. So his main thing is God we trust, but everybody else bring data. So data is a new thing, gold. That's why AI, everybody wants good quality data. So for medicine also, if your research has to be good, the quality of the data is most important. So that was the main thing. So I took a session on data preparation, how we get the data, where you get it from. And I took a little bit of it. Raw data is what you collect as PGs or as faculty. And there are different file formats, I'll talk about that. And then today's session will be this: general inspection, combining data, reshaping data, and data description, data visualization. The next session I'll take on data cleanup, data leakage, and handling missing values. So today I'll briefly tell you about raw data. It's missing. What data you collect in the ward? Half the time you don't put height, weight. In the OPD, somebody says, I want to know the respiratory rate. Who takes respiratory rate in OPD? Hardly anybody. So that's missing data. And I'll put mmHg, somebody put centimeter, somebody put millimeter, somebody put gram, somebody put kilogram. So this raw data needs to be collected. It's messy. You have to collect it and prepare it before it's ready for use. And there are different formats. For example, delimited format. Most software, if you save the Excel spreadsheet, you can save it in something called .csv. That's what all the data analysis software use. They don't directly use Excel spreadsheet. But SPSS, for example, if you import Excel spreadsheet, it will do the conversion for you. All other software, you have to save your Excel spreadsheet as a .csv file, then only use it. So each row, it's for a comma separated means you don't see this is the year and this is the date, but everything is in one box. 2025, comma 14. Excel spreadsheet, this would have been 2025, 14 would have been here. So this is called a comma separated value. So this is one format. And there is some advantage. Some people have got another one called tab separated. So in the CSV file, the file will call something, let's say my thesis.csv. Somebody else will have .tab. So each one is separated by a tab, that means a space. So this is a tab separated one. Then there's another one called .data file. This is also used by some other software like Analysis Studio. And you have to convert it to a text file and then put it into Excel. So I talked something about this. Just remember that when I was a PG, that Excel came, and it was 1997 to 2003, the older version of Excel. Now the current version of Excel is called XLSX, Open XML Spreadsheet, and this XML stands for Extended Markup Language. So the new one, you can have multiple charts in one Excel spreadsheet version. You can try many data in one. And you can format it, you can make charts, you can put images, you can put formula. So just to know that this is also one new version of Excel. Then there's another one which is also quite common in the West. It's called JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. Again, it's mostly used between a web server and a web application. Like for example, your app is on the phone. Like on your phone you have an app, like the Sugar app. But there's a server somewhere which is analyzing the data. So the data from your server to the app moves via this format called JSON. Then the server itself has got files. Like for example, CMC saves all its data from the workstation into a server. And those servers have got two types of files. There's a main database file, which is called MDF. And then the transaction file, which is the one which moves up and down between, it's called LDF file. Then there's something called SQL server, which is a general place to hold all the data in the server. This is just so that you get some understanding. Somebody asks you like, what is SQL? Oh, the data is saved in a main server, it's called SQL, and there's an MDF file and there's an LDF file. So, and then how it moves in and out, there's a database file system. If you like computers, all this will sound like ABCD for you. But for many medical people, this is like Greek and Latin. But you just need to understand that there are different file systems and there's different ways of moving it about. Now, like for example, there's data on the internet. Let us say that Government of India has got so much health information. National Family Health Survey. Every year or 2 years, government surveys millions of Indian families and then takes demography, diabetes, hypertension, smoking, oil use, exercise use, vegetable and fruit use. I want to get that data. I'm sitting here like a go to a restaurant, the waiter takes my order, goes to the kitchen, gets it from the kitchen and gives it to me. This is something called API, Application Program Interface. I'm at my computer, I make a request through my API to the Government of India server, and the API gets the information back and gives it to me. So you must get used to this new word called API. So Application Program Interface. It literally scrapes the internet and gives you the data. So web-based data can be structured data. For example, the Government of India data is highly structured. It could be totally unstructured. For example, I may take all information from YouTube videos, from podcasts, which is totally unstructured. Semi-structured means that part of it is structured. Structured means this is the name, this is the age, this is gender. But other all video and text, which I don't know what it is, but so it's got some structured, semi-structured data. Now increasingly there's behavioral data. For example, I can even see where, people can even make out what you're typing by knowing if they can hack your what do you say, the keyboard. It can click what all keys you're using, which websites you're going, your search histories will tell me about your behavior. So people are analyzing people's behavior by either obviously or not obviously collecting behavioral data. Transactional data, people are all collecting about you. Like every time you go to Amazon, it's collecting, okay, Vimali has gone to this shoe website. Suddenly you will find in your email address, unsolicited email from some shoe company, because Google has shared with the shoe company for money, and the shoe company is suddenly giving you an ad. So that is transactional data. Now you see all of you have got smartphone, which is collecting your smartwatch, collecting your heart rate, which goes to your phone. Without your knowledge, the phone is giving it to somebody who is collecting information about you. So there's mountains of sensor data on the computer. There's also weather data, traffic data, so they can link many of these things together. So increasingly that is there. Then there's geospatial data. So when you're going, if you've got Google Map, traveling to some city, some point, there's a chicken restaurant. How does it know that I like chicken? Because I ordered chicken somewhere. It linked it to my GPS, which I've got near to a restaurant with good chicken. Hey, do you want to go here? So geospatial information is also there. If you Google yourself, you'll be surprised to find how much information about yourself is publicly accessible. There's publicly accessible data which people also get. So all this is called, all these 5 things come under web-based data, which you can scrape using an API, and a smart API can get so much information about people. So increasingly, if you go for job interviews, they are actually going to your social media page. In fact, you have to give them access to your social media for all new job interviews, and they're checking what all things you have done. In fact, if you want to apply to US for an interview, for a visa now, travel visa also, you have to give them your social media handle, and they'll see whether you have been saying anything bad about US, and have you had some terrible things to say, then they'll refuse, because they're worried about what the kind of people coming there. Like. So increasingly, these are, even if you don't give, they'll get the information from you. So I told you about these web scrapers already. I don't want to go into that. I talk about this, and this R software has got a program which you can put on the net, and you can get information without going through this method. I talked about Python. Okay, I also talked about web languages. In the 1960s, the computer language looked very much like English, A to Z, and some special characters. These were called ASCII, American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So computers talked to each other using ASCII. Then after some time, it became a little more advanced, so it became ASCII 1, became ASCII 2. It looked a bit like this. We don't have to understand it. So the computers talk to each other through this ASCII language. It's a text format, and after that, in 1980s, Unicode transformation format. So the current format is not ASCII anymore. It is UTF-8 and UTF-16. This is how computers talk to each other. You can convert, if you have an older file which is in ASCII, you can convert it into Unicode. So there's a converter for that, and it looks like a bit like Egyptian hieroglyphics. In the pyramids and all, the Egyptians have written some script. So it looks a bit like that. I don't know why they made it to look like that. Anyway, now this is the current method. 99% of people in the world use, in the back end of the computer, we type in English, but it's saving it as UTF, and it shares it between computer systems using UTF. So there's an example of data sharing. For example, we can look at epidemiology data for India. We can scrape data from the net and publish data on the net. Interactive graphs. You can, in many websites, you put China 1994 to 2018 health, ever had diabetes, and sitting in India, I can scrape this information from the Chinese national database, and I made this graph just sitting in India. You can just sit here and do this from 2000 onwards, how much diabetes. Of course, people must be willing to share this information, or I can still get this information from the net. Okay, so the next session is going to be a bit short because our MK-SAP, you told them to come here? Okay, so the MK-SAP session we'll do here. Till that comes here, then we'll go to the next part. So that was just so that, because many of you missed this earlier part. Okay, now data could be low quality or high quality. It could be open or not open. So which is the best? You really want high quality data which is openly accessible. So everybody can reuse this high quality data. So for example, like there's the world's first large cohort study. Do you know the biggest cohort study in the world? Framingham cohort. You can write to them. They'll give you data, like they started in 1940. They have millions of data. You write to them why you want it, they'll share with you. There's another private one in US. Everybody knows? It's called Kaiser, K-A-I-S-E-R, Kaiser Permanent. They also followed up people, but they are private, so they may not share so easily. So what you really want to be is high value data is high quality and freely shareable. So in the future, this is what people really want. So this is called FAIR. F stands for findable. It should be open and easy. It should not be behind 3 or 4 blocks which nobody can access it. Accessible means anybody with internet access. Interoperable, I told you many different types of data structures. No, suppose I put it in JSON or some other format which nobody else can access easily. It should be in a format that somebody can easily access. Reusable is, suppose I collect a lot of data and I just have an Excel spreadsheet with no headings. Of course, name and you can make out, then you have to guess which is age, what is gender. I have 1 and 2 under gender. I don't know what is 1, what is 2. What is that called? If I call 1 as male, coding. So I have to, so actually that's called data dictionary. For every single column in the Excel spreadsheet, I should say the first column is name, it is in English, age is in years, and months, there's no decimal point. Now that's, so if you describe, not the data, description of your data is called, no, it's called metadata, describing. If you put male as 1, female as 2, that's called code. Coding comes under metadata. So having a sheet saying that these are the data I collected, this is what each variable means. So actually for the PG thesis should add one of those things called data dictionary. So unless you share your data dictionary with other people, if you simply share your data, they won't be able to make out head or tail of what it is. So this is called the FAIR principle. It's very important. And in the future, now people are very cagey about sharing their data. None of us want to share our data. I want to publish one more paper. 99% of people don't publish their own studies, leave alone writing 2 or 3 papers out of it. So as far as possible, we must move to this FAIR principle. As open as possible, as closed as necessary. Suppose I have data on people's alcohol use, sexual behavior, domestic violence. Okay, I took it under condition of confidentiality. That information I need not be open and share about. But otherwise, information which is not going to harm anybody, patient has given consent to share the data, I should be. So it's a balance between what should be open and what should be closed. So safe projects means what? So the project should be safe, open as possible, closed as necessary. Patient safety is number 1. The data, you can't say that my data has no password protection, anybody can hack into it, I kept it on the internet, somebody took it. Safe settings, so the setting in which the data is collected should be safe and the output should be safe. So these are called the SAFE framework. There is another one called trust principles. So transparent data. What I don't hide some data, I don't share some of the data. Responsible. So suppose Joseph says, sir, give me your data. And I say, okay, what? I want to publish some paper, I want to analyze something. And then you share it with some friend somewhere else, and they share it somewhere else, and before you know, the data was on the net, and then suddenly. So that will be responsible. User focus. I should not share your data which you can't access. So it should be user focused. Sustainability. Now in many Western countries they have data warehouse. That means a huge, like a football stadium size underground place. Hard copy of all their research data is collected and kept for 5 years. Earthquake proof, fire proof, flood proof, temperature control setting. After 5 years, they'll scan the data, keep it electronically, and then they'll have a backup server and backup. So, but that's very expensive. Oxford, Harvard, all have got a data warehouse. Now in CMC, imagine if you put 10 crore a year to maintain that. It's good, but then is it really worth that money? So you have to think about the cost of saving this data. So sustainability, and then technology. Many people are saving their data on tech, but actually even to keep a server data costs money. To maintain the server costs electricity. So in fact, this AI, one of the big things in AI is who's going to give electricity to maintain these huge AI servers. So in the US now they have said anybody can set up AI company, you can have your own electricity generation. So they can set up their own nuclear power plant also to maintain their AI. So now it looks like AI instead of being green is going to be costing you a lot of money in maintaining that. So technology has to be a bit carefully used. Anyway, there's some concepts for that. Next is combining data sets. Now, data can come from many countries in the world. I just made some AI picture of the world. There's no countries like that. And the data can be in stacks like this. So, suppose I say that in CMC, okay, Vimali collects history and physical, Joseph collects biochemistry, you collect radiology imaging for the same patient. Should that information be stacked like this or like this? Under his hospital number, name, age, gender, clinical, then radiology, then other labs. Suppose I collect all the information from Vimali and I collect all information from you and from you. How should I stack that information? So then Vimali's information here, then Joseph, then finish. So you can stack data in different ways. So that's an important thing to do. So stacking also called appending, adding a case. So suppose I collect 10 data from you, same 10 data from you, 10 data, that is called stacking like this. It's also called appending data. So when you add the same information for various people in Excel spreadsheet, each person is one row, but you keep adding row after row after row, that's called appending data. So suppose I do multi-center study, and you are collecting data in Chennai, you are collecting in Ludhiana, you are collecting in Andhra. You have 100 patient data, then your 100 patient data, then your 100 patient data. Because it's the same data, but it's different people. This is called appending data. Then like this, like a jigsaw puzzle, come joining or merging data. So Vimali has collected history and physical, Joseph has got radiology data for the same patient. So in one row I have to add them this way. This is called merging, as different from appending. So it must be clearly, it has the same or mostly the same rows, different patients at different times. How do you merge them? How do you know? You have 1000 patients data, how do you merge it? Based on the hospital number. It can be named, but there may be two Vimali. We have so many Devraj in the ward now. Or which Devraj? So hospital number is unique to everybody. Or some unique ID, Aadhaar number, PAN number, something. You merge the data this way, this way, this way. Okay. Just because we have good quality data doesn't mean healthcare will improve. So this is I love this guy R.K. Lakshman. So like some time ago we had Miss Universe competition. So I am proud of the spectacular transformations and improvements which are taking place in women in India. So just because some people appear to be getting better doesn't mean everybody is getting better. Anyway, the next heading is called reshaping data. So this is also called restructuring or pivoting. Some people call it pivot table. So this I have not taught before. Some people call it wide format to long format. You just get used to these words. As PGs, the statistician often does this wide to long transformation, but we don't know that is going on in the background. Wide format, rows that contain all values to a patient, often the same measurement repeated through time. So ID, let's say Vimali is 1, Joseph is 2. Sorry, Vimali is 2, Joseph is 1. And this is your blood pressure during the beginning of my class, middle of my class, end of my class, as you become progressively sleepier. So, time beginning 30 minutes, 1 hour into my class. So for Vimali, I have taken this data and kept it like this. This is called long format, where the time is time 1, time 2, time 3. Joseph's time 1, time 2, time 3. So you can see this is called a wide format of data. So they are ideal for seeing how all the times correlate. If we do a scatter plot, we can see what was the time. A scatter plot will have a graph like this at time 1, time 2, time 3, whether it's going down, whether it's going up. So that wide format is useful for looking at scatter plots, but not good for looking at trends across time, because the time is like this, we can't do that. So I will show you how this is called the wide data set. We must change it to something called a long data set for looking for time trends. So if you are interested in time trend over time, at 1 month, at 0 time, 30 minutes, 1 hour, how does it do? To make that graph, you have to reshape that data set. And I will show you the thing. Now 1 is whom? Joseph. 2 is Vimali. So now the data set suddenly became 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Gender, male, 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 female. It's the same person. But now this is time 1, time 2, time 3 for Joseph. Time 1, time 2, time 3 for Vimali will come. Time 1 Joseph 132, time 2 Joseph 126, time 3 Joseph 118. Same way it will go down for Vimali and for the other person. So we have switched the data from this format to this format. So this is called long format. This is called wide format. Previously it was a very complicated thing to do this. Why should we do this? Because then you can make graphs easily for time trends using this long format. Just understand that. This is a format. The statistician will do because you don't know, but in many countries statistician you have to pay per hour. Even in government colleges or the private colleges, the PGs have to pay the common PG faculty or the common statistician, because that person is not beholden to do CMC we have a biostats department where they told you have to do for the person. So many people are learning by themselves. So you are forced to learn. Necessity is the mother of invention. So it's good to learn these things as PGs, because later on you might not have a statistician to teach you. You have to do it yourself. So learn these principles at least. So if you want to learn this, that's why I said, so this is called pivot table, and this guy is called Kevin, and this is his website. I've given the email, you can take this presentation if you like, and you can learn to make this pivot table by yourself. And there's another one called Google. Google spreadsheets are there. You know, you can enter data directly on Google spreadsheets, and then you can, there's a guy who's got a YouTube video on how to make pivot tables from Google spreadsheets. So this is called, this guy is, it's called Prolific Oak Tree. That's the name of his website. So you can just learn to make this long format to wide to long. Either you can use the previous one. This is a nice one, Kevin Strawant, and or the second one is this Google Prolific Oak Tree. Yeah? Okay. Shall I go on? Everybody sleepy? Take a break. Lunch is on the way. Okay. So descriptive statistics. Now, have you all seen an Excel spreadsheet? Everybody have done an MBBS Excel spreadsheet for any projects? It looks like this, no? There will be one column, one column, one column, one column. See, there's labeling on top: age, sex, chest pain, BP, cholesterol, fasting blood sugar. For the interns, this is called structured data. Suppose I gave you a data without any heading on top. You have to guess, oh, this must be something, this must be something. Who knows what it means? If you don't put label on top, it's called unstructured data. For the faculty, sometimes data, only the name and age and sex will have label on top. Everything else won't have label. That is called semi-structured data. This software, which I'll teach you next time, is called Jamovi. It's free to use. You can just download it on any, even on your tablet you can download Jamovi. So what you have to do is, all the data is here. You have to go to data and put descriptive statistics. And under the heading descriptive statistics, you can put whatever data you want into this. For example, I put cholesterol, and it will tell me all about the descriptive number, missing data, mean of the data, median, standard deviation, minimum, maximum. So the software will automatically tell you all about each data which you have collected. So that's a nice thing about this new software. This manually to go and calculate from school days, mean, standard deviation. So this software will, if you just go to descriptive statistics, you put the data you want. You can even split the data by gender, male or female. So this is a thing of Jamovi, how it looks like, and I'll show you this picture. It will give you even graphs like this. This is male, this is female, and this is the median cholesterol value for men, so men and for women, and this is the 25th percentile, 75th percentile. And then you can look at outlier values in them. It gives you different types of pictures. So you can do all this by just looking at this software. You don't have to understand how it does it. Just put the data, click, put graph. For example, I'm showing you here this graph. You can say what type of graph you want. You want histogram, you want box plot, you want bar plot. By just clicking this, so the software has become so easy. The main thing is to have good quality data, import it into this software for analysis. Excel also does many of these things, but sometimes Excel is really complicated to work with. So first look at each column for errors. For example, under the column gender, if there is one data called 300, hey, there is no 300. It must have been the cholesterol value I entered under gender. That is an error. Data distribution. So suppose you look at the weight of children. Somebody 70 kg newborn child. Oh, it must have been 6.7 or something else. By mistake in my sleepy state, I entered 70 kg instead of 700 gram or something. So missing data. Can you have missing data for newborns? You had gynae posting? Not yet. You had. How do you have missing data for newborn? Can you imagine somebody not entering? Stillbirths are there in our a lot of stillbirths happen. In a hospital, probably there will be about 100 stillbirths a year out of 10,000 deliveries. Everybody is upset. The mother is upset, the doctor is upset, the nurse is upset. In that case, very often they forget to record the gender of the stillbirth. That is truly missing data. Missed data is what? Missed versus missing. The data was there in the chart, but when I was collecting the data, I forgot to collect the gender data. So there is something called missed data as different from missing. Missing means nobody ever collected that data as missing data. Missed data is there in the chart, but the person who collected the data from the chart never collected that data. Then you have to do descriptive statistics, and I will talk about that. Validity check. First I told you about these checks: missing data, data distribution, typos. For example, I typed male as MALE, and the second time I put male as M. Now the computer doesn't know that these are same thing. It will collect it as two separate genders. MALE is one gender, M as one separate gender. So those are some small things that one needs to be careful about. The next thing somebody must be careful about is called validity check. So height and weight are correlated. As you grow taller, for children at least, as you grow taller, your weight should go up. So you think the height column looks okay, the weight column looks okay, but for 10 individuals, as the height went up, the weight remained stable. Though maybe the weight is wrong or the height is wrong. So just looking at the height alone, the data looked fine. Looking at the weight alone, it looked fine. But when you do, so the statistician will do these things. That's what I'm trying to teach you all. They will do simple correlations without telling you. Then they tell you, I think the height and weight, something is missing, wrong. Because so some 50% of the patients of adolescents, as they're growing taller, the weight remains stable, or they're growing heavier, but the height remains stable. Either there's truly something or there's something wrong in your data. So correlations. Numerical value above the expected range. So what is the expected maximum height, you think, for Indians?
180.
Yeah, because if you go to US, they may say 240, 260, or what was the cricket fellow bowled us out in South African cricketer, Marco Jansen. I think he's like 6'8". That must be some 300 centimeters or something. I don't know what that is. So I'm saying, for the country wise, you must think, okay, is this within the normal range I expect, or like for example, what is the biggest newborn baby you have seen? Wait. 5, huh? I don't know, the best I suppose there may be some 6 kg baby. Suppose these, these huge fellows will be having that. So you have to think like that. I'm just trying to make fun to make you think about the expected values. So as PGs also, you have to see whether your values of the data you collect is within the normal range that you expect. Here you need domain expertise. I don't know that maybe now in CMC itself there are 6 kg babies not born normally. When I was an intern, 2 kg itself was big, 3 kg was big baby. Like now suddenly 3 is normal and 4 may be big. So I must have some expertise in that. And these are really valuable. So this clinician, that's why this lab people or other people, they're always looking for good clinicians to tell us whether the values look reasonable or not. So Google spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet have an excellent section. Now, has anybody done data analysis in Excel? Anybody tried data analysis? So if you have Excel spreadsheet, you can go and do an add-in. On the top of Excel, there's something called add-ins. That means the software is there in your Excel spreadsheet, but you didn't activate it. And the one to add in is called Toolpack, Analysis Toolpack. So I'll show you how it looks. So there's a video for this, how to do data analysis. You can do large amount of data analysis in Excel. This is a video. It's called Data Descriptive Statistics and Analysis and the Matt McCarthy. So he gives a nice video how to do data analysis in Excel. So it's a nice thing. So everybody is familiar with Excel. You don't have to pay any money. You just have to put this add in. So this you can see that in many of your Excel spreadsheet, this will be a blank box here. So you have to go to this data and you have to put add in, and in that you have to put data analysis here. And then if you put data analysis, then if you highlight any column, let's say you highlight the age column, you just have to highlight column D, then you can click mean, it will automatically come up with all this. Mean age is so much, median age, standard deviation, variation, blah blah blah. So all the data which I got from that fancy software Jamovi, you can do it with Excel spreadsheet. So just to try that, you can, and this is the add-in. So analysis toolpack add-in. Then it's very easy. Data visualization. Easier to show pictures than to show anything else. If you have a single data, let's say age, and you want to show a person, how does the age vary in my group of patients, you can do what is called histogram. Another one is called density plot or box plot. This is called histogram. Cholesterol 100, 200, so the different cholesterol values and how many people have. So maximum people have cholesterol around 250. Few people have 100, very few people have 500. Maybe after our lunch today, mine will be 500. The same thing, this is called density plot. It's a smooth line. It just draws these lines together like that. It goes like that and like that and like that. So this, some people like this picture, they don't like this picture. So it just depends on, this is called data visualization. You know, to a statistical audience this may be nice, but to a non-medical audience this may look better. Hey, this is how it looks. And then just put 250 somewhere here. This is called a box plot. If you arrange all the cholesterol values, I show that spreadsheet. 1 second, sorry, I'm going back like this. This is the cholesterol values. These are the cholesterol values. I rearrange them in ascending order or descending order. That's what happens when you look at data. So when you're looking at this median value, you have to rearrange the data in ascending or descending order. Sorry, anybody has seizures, this is not a good thing. So the box plot, this is the middle value, also called median. This is the 25th value. The 100 value, this is the 25th value. That's the 75th value. Now these are the outlying values. So you put you take this interquartile range plus the 75th value and you put 1/3 of that and you put it up here. You can see the value patient number 2, patient 53, patient 10, patient 182 and patient 189 had values which were out of the normal range. So you thought that most values should be between the 25th and 75th value. This is out of the normal range. You can see that this data appears normally distributed up to here, but it's got a tail. So when data has got a tail, either this side or this side, then don't give mean and standard deviation. Use median and the 25th and 75th value, which is called interquartile range. And that is nicely depicted by this box plot. But many people don't know how to interpret box plot. This also counts number of people who have got heart disease on angio. Most people are angiogram normal. Some people are single vessel, some people double vessel, some people are triple vessel. So this is also called a count plot. Unlike histogram, these are not touching each other. 0 and 1 and 2 are distinct numbers. That's the difference between a histogram. Number of people calcified coronary arteries. So histogram versus bar plots. So histogram is when the values are continuous. BP is continuous. You're just choosing to show like that. Whereas the number of people with episodes of angina are separate. 1 is different from 2, is different from 3, is 4. These are called bar plots. If I want to look at the age and cholesterol, this is called bivariate analysis, because there are two data which I am trying to simultaneously look at. Okay, just another 5 minutes. So I am looking at whether, do you think that the cholesterol is going up with age, Vimali, or not?
Yeah.
High correlation or not very high? Somewhat. If this line was going like that, be better. You understood what I am saying? As the age goes up, if cholesterol goes up, it should have all the line, it should have been a diagonal like that. It is going up, but not at a huge rate. So I am looking at the strength of the association between the two. So that's one way of looking at it. The last way of looking at it is something called a heat map. I think that somebody gave a talk day before yesterday and they showed a heat map. Last Saturday you showed a heat map on your talk? No. ROC curve you will show. So this is to look at age and cholesterol. Age is here, age is also here. Obviously age will be correlated well with age. Cholesterol will correlate well with cholesterol. What we are really interested in is age versus cholesterol or age versus cholesterol. These two are more or less the same. Okay, so these are called heat map or correlation plots. So a correlation of 0 means there are no correlation between age and cholesterol. +1 means strong correlation. -1 means as age goes up, cholesterol goes on equally. So here that you can put the +1 in green and -1 in blue. Some people put plus in dark red and less red. So you will be very careful to look at heat map. What does this color mean? Each one likes a different color based on their own color preferences. Here dark green means strong correlation, blue means no correlation. This is sort of somewhere in the middle green. Age and cholesterol seem to have. So many programs will look at different colors. Now I just showed two variables, right? Now look at how many variables are there: age, sex, cholesterol, BP, blah 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 blah. The same variables will be here. So age and age will always be strongly because you are correlating it with itself. So the diagonal line is to be ignored because it's the same variable correlated with itself. Now how can you look at all these numbers? You will go mad looking at the numbers. Now you look at the colors. Green means high correlation, blue means strong negative correlation. Oh, these are strongly negatively correlated. Some color here seems to be strongly positively correlated. So the picture tells 1,000 words rather than the numbers. So this is called a heat map for correlations. Now we went somewhere and we took a class and then they said that, doctor, we can't access all these. So many engineering departments have an online free software called Power BI. They import all the data into this online software called Power BI and it does a lot of things. So I will stop here for today. Data cleanup I'll talk next time. But this is something which many engineering people, even medical people, colleges are using this because they have big universities. So the engineering guys will say, hey, we are using Power BI. So many doctors use this software called Power BI. Okay, I'll stop here for today.